morning everybody. This is part 2 of my Ascension series. Part 1 was about where to be mentally in order to get to where you want to go. I want to call it a different name actually. Everybody calls it Ascension. Now everyone has different thoughts about what Ascension is. I'd rather actually call it a shifting of energies, an expanding of consciousness, because that's really what's happened to me on this journey. My consciousness has gone from golf ball size to tennis ball to soccer ball or football to gigantic melon size consciousness, and I know it's going to keep on going and going and going, expanding. So I want to talk about what my experiences have been. I've not told anybody really, apart from people on my Rainbow Tribe group, hello people, what I've been going through all year. And it started in January for me. It started when I kept feeling these really weird, I called it a burning heart sensation, and it felt like my heart was getting really hot, loads of energy and heat expanding out of me. It's a really weird kind of physical sensation. And I did a bit of research into what was going on in the world at the times I was having it, and I wrote down the dates, and it seemed to always coincide with a gamma ray burst or a CME or filament eruption. It was things going on, energies hitting us from space that seemed to be coinciding with my physical symptoms. The other thing I had was kind of being a bit lost and dreamy. I went from having a conversation with my friends to suddenly feeling like I'm gone, I can't even speak right now, I don't even feel I'm mentally here with you all. And that was really difficult. Another one I had was suddenly I just became so aware of everybody else's energy, and it was really overpowering. One time I got onto the bus to go down to the street shopping, and I felt like as soon as the bus doors opened and I walked on, I was hit with this extreme energy. Now, I've always been empathic. I am a spiritual medium by trade, and I'm for a living I tune into people's energies and read them. But this was something on a huge level for me. This was where I could feel everybody's feelings on the whole bus, and it was so overpowering that I had to stop myself from just turning and running off the bus. Places where I was busy with people were so difficult for me to be in, and I know that I've spoke to other people who experience the same kind of symptoms. Too many people means you just want to leg it and run away from them. One of the other things was enhanced psychic ability. I seemed to just really know things. I mean, I've always been psychic from a little girl. I was psychic. I had my imaginary friends, so you call them. And it wasn't until years later that my mum actually found out the people who I spoke to were in the family tree. That I didn't have, obviously I had no knowledge of these people, but tracing the family tree, I was speaking to them. We had an uncle that lived with, a great uncle that lived with us, and it turns out his wife and son were the ones that I spoke to. So that gave me confirmation from from young that I'd been able to do this from a little child. I've done my medium work all my life, so I'm very in tune with my own energy field, and I teach people to work on their energy. But this was a whole new ballgame for me. It seemed like I'd reached a level in my life spiritually where I could go no further. And I had no preconceptions of 2012. Apart from, in 1999, my guide told me that 2012 was going to be a year of turbulence and change. And was I able to cope with it? Do I need to start preparing for this change? And I remember thinking then, what can happen? And in my mind I saw visions of broken buildings and society just gone crazy. But I took that as being kind of, not actually what's going to happen, but that something's going to happen to cause society to break down. It doesn't mean the buildings are actually falling, it means our perceptions of life are breaking down and things will change. Back then I might have thought, oh my God, we're dealing with something terrible. But then the more I went on with this, I realised, no, this is a shift in our reality, a shift in our conscious state of being. We're going to see things differently. The way we've lived up to now is going to change radically. And I'm starting to see that happening every day with people's ideas and what people are sharing with me. So going back to the burning heart thing that I had, that was the start of the physical symptoms. Because the next stage that I went through, the burning heart and then the separation, feeling like I was gone, what I started to do was when I felt like I was gone, I closed my eyes, and all these pictures in my mind's eye, I opened my third eye, and all these pictures started to appear of these beings I was standing talking to. I'm communicating with these beings, consciously I'm not doing it, but in my third eye, I could project out and see. So I went along with this, thinking this might just be my subconscious, whatever's happening, and it turns out I was speaking to these beings, and I described them to I didn't describe it at the moment to my friend, but I kind of kept it to myself at first, because you don't want to be classed as, so I kept it to myself. But then my friend described to me somebody who she saw, she's psychic as well and sees auras, and she described someone sitting next to me that matched my description completely. She saw the person that I was talking to sitting next to me on the couch as an energy being, but they were projecting an image of themselves next to me. So so every step of this way, every step of this journey I've been on, I've had confirmation from good friends who are also psychic and or sensitive, who can see the beings, who can see spirits, but they're not spirits, they are dimensional beings. And so I've had confirmation every step of the way that indeed who I see and that I'm talking to is other people are seeing it too. So I started going on these little journeys, and I was taking on wild and wonderful journeys, and I didn't believe that I actually was going to spaceships or going here or going there. I thought this is my subconscious mind creating a virtual movie, so to speak, for me to understand, to put them into a place, to understand it in a 3D reality spectrum, so that it wasn't just floating in nothingness, and it was beyond my understanding of where I really was. So I think I was creating all these situations because some crazy things happened where I had some of these dreams or visions, waking visions, where I was at meetings with these beings and other people from Earth, and then I see a video on YouTube of a woman who's describing exactly the same scenario as me, who was there and the content of the meeting, and I was like, whoa, can that be real? Am I really doing this? So it's made me question what my subconscious is seeing and other people's subconscious. Why are we all having the same visions? Why are we all having exactly the same scenarios in our visions? I mean, to the T. I saw visions of coming out of a craft, and there's lots of people there waiting to talk to me, and then this other man put up about a week later that he'd had the same vision. I'm thinking, is this the way they feed it to us, to make us understand that there's a change, and maybe we're going to be more conscious, even more conscious of other beings around us in a given time. It may take 10 years. I'm not saying it's going to happen on the 22nd of December, 21st, 23rd. I'm not saying that. I think it's something that's going to build and build and build until we're more conscious. But who knows? I'm not saying what they've told me because I don't believe in prophesying at all. So all these visions started to come to me, this deeper understanding of the world we live in and of different dimensions surrounding us. And I started to talk to these beings and find out what was happening, and they explained to me that there's energies hitting our planet now that are changing us on a cellular level. It's changing us from within, and it does take a lot of breaking down of your physical to do this. The next thing that started happening was the sounds in my ears, the high-pitched squealing and buzzing and whirring noises, and it was louder at night when I was lying in bed. And I thought at first it was just my central heating, but then I had a fire in the house that stopped, but basically condemned my central heating, and I had no heating and no systems on at night at all, yet the noises were louder. When I'm in complete silence, I hear it so much louder. So I thought, okay, this is something I'm hearing. And I did a silly experiment where I put my fingers in my ears and really tried to block out all the noise, and I realised this vibration frequency was coming from my brain. It really feels like my brain's, I can hear the frequency. I don't know if I'm picking up frequencies or I'm just able to hear it now. But along with this, my hearing became super, super sonic. I mean, I've had good hearing all my life because I've got terrible eyesight, so the hearing makes up for it. But this was, I could hear noises from in the distance, squeaky, metallic-y noises, and nobody else seemed to notice yet. It was overpowering for me. And one time I realised it was somebody using a photocopier across the other side of a building, and I could hear it, this really loud metallic noise. So I know things are changing physically, hearing-wise and brain function-wise, but then the thing that I've gone through on a spiritual level is sorry about that, it cut off. So I was saying, So I had all these physical symptoms changing my body, but the main thing spiritually was my aura started to change. I had this being come to me saying, would you like to ascend? I said yes, if my children can come, not having a clue what this meant. In my mind, I kind of thought maybe that I was going to fly up as a white light, you know, and go to a new fifth dimensional world. Not at all what actually happened. So, this being said to me, would you like to ascend? And I was sitting with my friend. Now, the buzzing started happening in my head. All this buzzing started happening, really numb brain. And my friend was due to go home. She had her 20-month-old son with her, and she had to get 2 buses back to her house again. And we're sitting, and both of us were just like, whoa, the buzzing. Both of us simultaneously started to receive this buzzing sensation. And then I had to go and get my children sorted for whatever it was they were doing, and I'd left her sitting at the kitchen table doing her own thing. And when I came back, she'd said to me, I'm really shaky, and I thought because she's diabetic, maybe she was, you know, going hypo or something, I don't know. But I was like, you don't look like you're shaking, you're okay. And then the next thing, she had to go home, but in my head I heard a voice say, she can't leave. So I said to her, but I didn't say this to her at that point, because I kind of in my head says, she's got a little dog at home she has to go home to. You know, she can't stay here. And in my head the voice said, well, that's unfortunate. So anyway, she packs up her stuff, and this is about, well, I'd gone away to get my kids to bed actually, because this is about now, she went for the bus about 10:15. She came back again, well, she got to the bus stop, and the next thing, 10:20, my phone rings. And she said, did you phone me? And I was like, nope. She went, well, I have an unknown number on my phone. And right at that moment, I just thought, she has to come back here. She has to come back here. And I said, I think she went, I'm already on my way back to you. So, you know, synchronicity, we both knew she had to be in my home that night for whatever reason. So she comes back, my kids are sound asleep in bed, and we're sitting talking, and my settee's like pulls out to, it's a recliner, so it pulls out to a big bed kind of thing. She was getting comfy with her little boy, and I started feeling this crazy vibration. And I mean crazy. I think if Caroline hadn't been in the house, I probably would have phoned an ambulance, because I was shaking so, like, I developed I was having a stroke or a seizure or something. And I looked at Caroline and says, I'm shaking so much. And she went, that's what I just went through, the shaking. I know what you mean, you don't look like you're shaking, but that's what I've got, I'm shaking so much. Because she knew she couldn't imagine going home on the bus, because she was shaking so violently that she thought she looked like she was convulsing. You don't look like it. And it's a weird thing, what I got in my head was like, it was almost another energy system was entering my physical body. And as the two were coming together, it was like magnetics pushing against each other and wobbling. So I'm seeing myself wobbling and shaking, but I think I was looking through my psychic eye, because I didn't appear to be shaking, but to me I was being thrown about like a rag doll. And this went on for about 9 hours of intensely shaking. I had said to her, I'm sorry, I have to go to my bed. She went, I can't even talk either, I'm shaking so much. I went to bed and my tongue was vibrating, my spine was vibrating, my teeth, it was like somebody had plugged an electrical device into me. It was like, and it was the most crazy thing I've ever experienced. I felt like I was just floating up off the bed and coming down, and I thought, well, I'm so glad she's here, because if that had just been me on my own and not be able to go through and say, is your tongue, you know, how are you feeling? She's like, my tongue's vibrating, my teeth. I couldn't have had that backup, that what I was going through, but so was she, unless it's some kind of weird mind control thing, which I don't really believe, was sent out to both of us exactly the same night. Then it was something very spiritual happening, and this energy changed me forever. Both of us changed. By the next day morning, both of us felt like we were just so in love with the world, so in love with everybody. I wanted to run out and tell people that love's everywhere, feel it, can you feel it in your being? I felt like I had the love of all the galaxies and all the universes all flowing through me. This massive urgency to tell people that everything's going to be okay. Everything's more than okay, it's going to be bloody amazing. And both of us for a couple of weeks, but it was weird at the same time, because I felt like I was two different people. I felt like I was Claire for, you know, most of the time. Normal, I'm quite lazy, you know, I always say I'll do it tomorrow, and I never do. And then suddenly I was, you know, and I called myself Serafina on Facebook, because that's what I always hear the guides call me. My guides always call me Serafina, so I put that name, just, you know, as you do. And it seemed like there was these two different people. When I felt different, like I was more like this Serafina. I know it sounds like split personality, but go with me here on this one. I became this very dynamic, it needs to get done now, and this needs to be done, that needs, and I just did things. I felt like I just knew what I had to do, and I was very, this, and this, and I got it all done, you know. And then I would merge back to Claire again, and merge back to this person with purpose, and it went on like this, and it's a bit of a mind warp, to be honest, because you don't know quite what's going on. You feel like, shit, I've gone a bit mad here. I think I've lost my sense of reality, and I think maybe I should send myself in a clinic. But watching my friend go through it with me, and I wouldn't speak to her for like 4 or 5 days, and then we get in touch, and she would mention how she's feeling and what she'd been through, and I thought, that's exactly what I've been saying to my other friends. That's what I've been through. So again, it was all this confirmation that although we weren't in each other's lives constantly, she lives further away than me, and she's busy with her child and her work, whatever, that we're both going through the exact same situations, exact same experiences. And then I got told that she wasn't handling it as well because of the baby. Because it's like, it suddenly becomes like everybody moves too fast, and you're very dazed, and things are moving too quickly, and you can't really keep up with it. And a little one running about was making me kind of, whoa, I can't cope with this. Even my own children speaking loud. I mean, my children are very, very sensitive and very psychic, and they just kind of innately know what's going on, thank goodness. I didn't mention any of this to them, but they do say weird things to me about what reality might be like, and wouldn't it be better if we had no money, and wouldn't it be like more like real life. And so I know that they are going through their own changes, and they can come to me if they need to say anything. They feel okay to come to me and say, Mum, today although I just looked outside and the road was like water, you know, just like water everywhere. But then it went back to road again, or I had this really loud beep 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 in my ears. And so they can say these things to me because they're clearly going through the same changes that I went through. So I went through this, and then about a month to the day after, I went through part 2, as they called it, which they said, we're putting all the love of the divine into you, and now you must go out and spread that love with people. You must go and ignite the golden light inside people's souls, and just by thought and intention, just by healing, you must go and do this and make people feel, give them hope, make them feel this energy, and heal. So at that point, I had... Sorry, it cut off again. It's because I've got so much videos on my iPhone, and I can't get my camera to work with the sound properly, so I do apologise. So I think I was up to the bit where I'd got, and I said it was a month to the day. It wasn't, it was 7 days to the day where I went through the part 2. And once I woke up the next day morning, again it was about 7 hours of weird energy. After that, my friend who can see auras and can feel energy started to feel, she was aware of a pulse coming out of every one of my chakras. Every chakra started to have a kind of pulsing wave energy coming in and out of it that was really, I could physically feel it breathing in and out of my, especially my solar plexus chakra. I could feel it breathing coming in and out, but it was all of them. If I concentrated and felt it, I could feel it, and my friend felt it with her hands in front of, you know, a few inches in front of my solar plexus. She could feel the wave coming. So I'm going to try and hurry this up because it's taking ages to tell you all. But the next thing, I just got this overpowering feeling I wanted to share things. I started setting up events called Share the Love and Find a Penny, and to get people to start thinking about service to others, not in a way that is in martyrism, but in a way that if we service, we do things for other people and they do things for us. It's all about sharing and about experiencing the connectedness of humans rather than going individual and having to have a dog eat dog and survive in society. It was more about what we can all do to help each other, and this was really prominent to me. This all of a sudden it was, we have to do this, and I'm setting up seminars now for healing and you know, I'm moving forward with what my divine guidance is. But the very last thing that happened to me was only last week, and I you know, went to sleep, but as I fell asleep I OBE all the time. I've been able to do astral projection from very young as well, and I used to get stuck and have the paralysed feeling. Whether that's something else or not, I'm not going to go into right now, but I was aware that I was standing next to my bed looking at my body, and my body started to die, and well, actually, to begin with, I felt like I felt like the feeling of dying, In astral, I felt like I was dying, and then I saw my body, and I could feel in my body that my breathing was stopping. And then I was watching myself, and I watched my body die and decompose and turn to dust in front of me. And then I saw all my grandparents appear, and at that moment, I will be honest, I really did think I'd maybe died, because it was so real, and I could see all my grandparents all standing around my bed, and I'm looking, I'm going, am I dead? And he says, no, you're not dead, you're that part of you, the old part of you is died and gone. This is the new being, who you're going to be, the new body of light, the new multi-body as they call it, a body that can reside in any frequency and physically interact with it. And they explained to me that we can interact with this where we are right now because we vibrate at the same frequency as it. So if we're able to move our consciousness to other dimensions, then we can also physically interact with them, because we will then vibrate at the same frequency as that dimension. So my OBEs have been getting stronger and stronger, and that when I'm in my OBEs now, and you know, because you feel the separation, you feel suddenly you're out, I can go to other places and other dimensions and physically touch and feel people and interact with different beings, and maybe it is just my subconscious, but it feels really real to me. So we'll just go along the lines that maybe we're able to, or going to be able to, access different dimensions and interact physically in these dimensions. So I watched myself go through the death process, and then I was told, get back into bed. Now I'm aware that I'm an energy body, but I climbed back into bed, and suddenly I opened my eyes and did a big breath. And at that point the vibrations changed. That when I touch people now, they get a kind of dull ache, like electric shock, or the people can feel by touching my hand, or touching, you know, they can feel the vibration in my bones. They can feel it, a buzz and vibration inside the very bones. And one of my friends, and one of my coven sisters, had said to me that, my God, you're right, you vibrate from the inside out. They just kept thinking, okay, we'll go with what Claire's saying. She doesn't lie. She's very spiritual. We're just going to see where this is going. Like myself, it's a journey. Let's just follow it. Excuse me. But this energy now has changed. I feel like my friend who sees auras, I went to see her, and I kind of a bit of a panic, because I was aware that I do the energy things where you do this with your hands. I was aware that I couldn't do that in the morning. I didn't seem to have an aura, which was the weirdest thing, because I've done it all my life. I've taught people all my life how to do this, and I couldn't feel my aura anymore. And then I realised that I was the energy being, and it's really, really wild and weird, and I'm going to get so much trolling for this, but it's all in love and light, I don't mind. But this new energy, I felt like, and my friend was watching, she went, you don't have an aura, you don't. And then I put my hands out, and I started to imagine projecting light, and she went, I see it now. I went, ultraviolet. I said, all I can see is ultraviolet. And I look at myself, and she could see the ultraviolet coming out through my fingertips. So it's a whole new way of being for me, that now when I do healings, I have to project. Before I would just put my hands on people would feel the heat, and now I have to project it out and consciously say what I'm going to do. And it's like the people who I do healings for now are quite shocked, because they feel it physically inside their body. Even people who are really quite sceptical about all this have said to me, what are you doing? Because I can feel that inside my organs. I can feel my brain being fuzzed, or I can feel my lungs heating up, and I'm doing a healing on their lungs to reduce, you know, fluid or whatever. They can feel that what I'm doing is I'm trying to evaporate it out into the universe and make it back to elements. But they can feel this, so I feel a bit silly sharing this with you, because it is so out there, but I feel like my guides tell me I have to share this with you, because this is what everyone's going to go through. Maybe not exactly the same as what I've gone through, but they're going to go through some kind of change where they're going to be more aware of themselves as the energy body, and their energy frequency is going to change. People have this problem with me now, and it's really weird. When they spend longer than half an hour in my company, their eyes start to nip and sting and burn, and they feel like the energy. And the way it's being explained to me is because I pulse. My energy pulses, and people can't see it in the visual spectrum, but the eyes do recognise the pulsing light, and it does make their eyes go funny, go sore and tired and burny. And that's the effect the higher beings have on me. When they're in my presence and I'm looking at them, sometimes I can't look for long because it's so bright, and my eyes start to burn and nip, and it's like a pulsing light. So it's like we're coming up to their frequency. We're not as high as them, but we're starting to come up to their frequency of this pulsing. So think of it what you may. you know, obviously you're going to probably roll your eyes and go, what on earth? But that's fine if that's what you think. People who are going through this maybe need this little confirmation that this is where they're going, and maybe they feel it in here, this is what's happening, and they're too scared to voice it, or they just want some confirmation of other people. So my journey might sound like some kind of mad dream, but it's what's happened to me, and against my will I'm being forced to share this with people, to give you some kind of hope or help or shared understanding, or something to guide you along your way. So take it how you will. Laugh at me all you like, that's fine. I still love you anyway if you laugh. I probably would have looked at people before and gone, okay. But going through it myself, I can guarantee that there's something different happening. I feel different. If you could come and visit me, I'd let you feel my hand, feel the vibration. It's nothing mental, or I can't walk down, you know, I don't walk down the street and people say, whoa, nothing like that. It's all from me, it's all my vibration, but it's given me confirmation that before, when I was thinking this could just be this, it could just be that, now I know completely there's a huge shift happening energetically, and we're all going on a lovely little journey together. So with that, I'm sorry it took 3 parts, but iPhone failure completely. But I hope your journey is wonderful and you're enjoying it, and I hope I helped somebody out there, or even give people a laugh. Whatever, it doesn't matter to me. I love you all. Please be safe and live in love. Namaste.